Good morning. Welcome in RNQ NIS classes. Chapter number 20 Nationalism. All of the some point in our lips, you have to be loyal to our country. This loyalty to our country may be generally understood as nationalism. A nationalist is a person who loves his country. You may find statements of this kind of novels and poetry, speeches, and newspapers, and also films. Have you ever wondered when all this may have begun? What is the history of nationalism? How old is this idea, or did people always love the country? Does the word nationalism carry any other meaning apart from feeling of loyalty for one's country? These are questions that we shall try to answer in this lesson. After studying the lesson, you will be able to trace the history of idea of nationalism, explain the reason of the rise of nationalism in Europe, relate the growth of nationalism in India with the struggle against British colonialism, trace the emergence of idea of nationalism in the field of culture in India, and explain how nationalism was expressed in economic terms. Nationalism origin and meaning. It may surprise you to learn that the history of this idea is not more than 200 years old. Nationalism, in the sense in which we use it today, did not exist in India before the 19th century. It may also surprise you to learn that the roots, origin of this idea to don't lie in the Indian history, but in the history of modern Europe. In fact, it's possible to talk of Indian nationalism as a distinctly different from its European counterpart. In order to know these differences, it is important to have an idea of circumstances under which nationalism took roots in Europe. In Europe, the development of nationalism was the result of fundamental changes that were taking place in society and economy around the 18th century. The beginning of the Industrial Revolution produced goods and material and created wealth at an unprecedented. Unprecedented means like never before level. This led to the need for the creation of unified and large market where these goods could be sold. The creation of a large market led to be political integration of villages, district and provinces into a large state. In this large and complex market, different people were required to perform different rules of which they needed to be trained in different skills. But above all this, they needed to communicate with each other. This created the need of uniform educational center with focus on the languages. In the pre-modern times, majority of the people learnt languages and other skills in their local environment which differed from each other. But now, because of the new changes brought about by modern economy, a uniform system of training and schooling came into being. Thus modern English languages in England, French in France, and German in Germany become the dominant languages in those countries. Uniformity in communication system resulted in the creation of a national culture and reinforced national boundaries. People living within those boundaries begin to the association themselves with it. Culturally, they also begin to perceive themselves as one people and as member of one large community. Englishmen begin to identity with each other and with the geographical boundaries of England. Similarly, it happened to German and French people. This was the beginning of the idea of nationalism. Let us understand this differently. Nationalism was the result of emergence of nations and nation state, large culturally homogeneous territories with a uniform political system within in Europe. These nations state didn't always exist. The early societies with simpler form of human organization and without an elaborate division of labor could easily manage their affairs without a state or a central authority to enforce law and order. State as a political center authority came into being after the living without a central authority to regulate their lives. This need for a state become elaborate system of communication and a uniform system of education with focus on one standardization languages is created condition for cultural and political uniformity. This came into being modern nation state. These nation state in order to sustain and perpetuate themselves needed the alliances and loyalty of the people residing in their territories. This was the beginning of nationalism. In other words, an an identification by a people or community with the boundary of nation, state, and its high culture gave rise to what we know as nationalism. But this was not how the idea of nationalism developed in India. This condition in India were very different at a time when the idea of nationalism was taking roots in Europe. Industrialization occurred here at a very limited scale. When Europe was getting rapidly industrialization, India was still largely an agrarian economy. Different people spoke different languages through the feeling of patriotism, love, and feeling of loyalty of one territory and culture, like one that existed among the Maratha or for Marthawara or among the Rajputs for Rajputanas certainly existed in India in pre-modern times, but nationalism as we understand it unified system of administration, common languages, a shared high culture and political integration didn't exist in India until about the middle of the 19th century. Nationalism in India developed primarily as a response to the British rule. British rule, as you know, came to the Indian soil in 1757 with Battle of Plassey and gradually established here by defeating the native rulers. As you are aware, the arrival of the British as rulers were resented by many of the native rulers and people. Also, it was clear that all wanted to oppose and fight against the British pressure in India. But initially, they didn't to together as one people. Different groups had their specific grievances against the British, and therefore they fought that for the redressal of their specific grievances. For instance, the native rulers didn't want the British of take over their territory as happened to the rulers of Awadh and Jhansi in present-day UP. Similarly, peasants, artisans, and tribals suffered at the hands of the British rulers and often stood up in revolt against them. You have read about this in module 3 of this book, but merely this opposition of the Buddhist rule or a fight against them didn't bring about a feeling of nationalism in India. Although different section in the population got unified because of a common exploitation at the hands of the British, of feeling of identification with the entire country and its people didn't came about. Even the great revolt of 1857, in which many section of the population fought together like native rulers, soldiers, zamindar, and peasant, didn't produce a feeling of nationalism of an all India unity. The idea that the people of India, in spite of many differences among themselves, had many things in common amongst them had not as yet taken rules. Similarly, the realization that the British rule was foreign and an aligned rule which wanted to subjugate to the entire people and bring them under its control had not and also not occurred. The essence of nationalism in India, of Indian nationalism, was the realization that all of the Indian people had a common nationality, and that it was in their collection interest to resist the British rule, to put it similar a combined opposition to British rule and a desire to achieve national unity lay at the heart of Indian nationalism. The objective condition for the development of nationalism were indeed fulfilled by the arrival of the colonial rulers and their penetration into Indian society and economy. However, these conditions in themselves didn't create an awareness of nationalism in mature and made its presence gradually in the field of culture, economy, and politics. In the following section, we shall look at this separately. Culture and nationalism. It was the field of culture that the idea of nationalism was explored first. That happened at two levels. Firstly, it happened in the form of questioning some of the elements of traditional Indian culture and a desire to bring about reform in it, removing some socially undesirable feature of Indian culture like caste system, religion, superstition, parenthood, discrimination against women, etc. Secondly, an attempt was also made by Indian to oppose the British uh, in encouragement in the Indian culture. It is important to remember that colonial conquest didn't just mean the replacement of one kind of rulers by another. Its effect penetrated deep down to the lives of the ordinary people in a variety of ways through the efforts of British rulers and their agent. The culture of then colonial rulers began to spread among the Indian people. This spread of colonial culture and languages produced two responses among the Indian elect socially privileged people belonging to high culture and upper strata of the society. Some of them begin to compare the tradition Indian society and culture with the one that existed in modern England. They thus question some of the elements of the Indian culture. For instance, social reforms like Ram Mohan Roy and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar worked hard for the indication of some of the social evils that were a part of Indian society. In a particular, uh, Ram Ram Mohan Roy attacked the practice of sati, burning of the widow along with the husband on his death, and Vidyasagar advocated remarriage of widow. Leaders like Jyotiba Phule initiated anti-caste movement in Maharashtra. They also made an appeal to the colonial rulers to intervene in the Indian society and bring about reform, although they didn't believe that the European culture was superior to Indian culture. They didn't, however, believe that the British rule represented a modernization force which could help in the development of the Indian society along modern and rational lines. At another levels, however, the Indian leaders tried to defend and protect Indian culture against what they thought was an enroachment of the colonial culture into the lives of the Indian people. When attempts were made in the 1850s to impose a European dress and other practices on the Indian people, it was resisted by them. Interestingly, this was also true of those social reform was admired the British rule and hoped that The colonial rule would, through legislation and other means, introduce and a leader of the Brahmo Samaj formed by Ram Mohan Roy in 1828 didn't like to wear English dress or eat English food. Similarly, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar refused to go to a function hosted by the lieutenant governor because he was required to wear European dress. Culture in this approach, cultural rights and practices of the people were seen as a very important, and the colonial rule was defined on the ground that it was trying to impining upon them. The two approaches mentioned above may seem to you have different and also to conflict with each other. The former approach of cautioning the evils of the tradition Indian culture may took different form. The latter approach of resisting any attempt on the part of the colonial rulers to either appropriate or to try to change the local Indian culture. It may appear to you have that the first approach invited British intervention in India society, whereas the second opposed it. But it is very important to remember that as component of Indian nationalism, uh, both the approaches complete each other. The idea of cultural nationalism as it developed in the 19th century was based on firm rejection of some of the negative feature of the tradition words. The 19th century social reformers wanted the Indian culture to become truly modern, but they didn't want to it becomes totally western. In this sense, they were opposed to both the tradition culture but also to the modern colonial culture. This was the exist of cultural nationalism as a practiced in 19th century in India. Economic nationalism. You have now uh, understood what is meant by cultural nationalism and what was the relationship between culture and nationalism in India. Let us how try to understand economic nationalism. The origin of economic nationalism can be tracked back to the second half of the 19th century when Indian leaders like Dadabhai Naroji Mahadev Dadabhai Naroji Mahadev, Govind Ranade, and Romesh Chandra Dutt, among others, began realizing that the British rule was economically exploiting India and that it was largely responsible for keeping Indian under extreme poverty. From this whole generation of Indian leaders like Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, G.V. Joshi, and many others developed a systematic and comprehensive economic criticism of the British rule. Following are some of the features of economic nationalism they propound and praised through their writing. Their implies or that the colonial rule was economically exploiting India in variety of ways. Initially, this exploitation was conferred a heavy taxation, the peasantry, and the unequal trade with the India. It was an unequal trade because the British East India Company, which was granted a monopoly, a trade with India by the Indian Parliament, brought Indian goods very cheap and sold British manufactured goods to India at a very expensive rate. This resulted in India wealth going to England. It also destroyed the traditional handicraft industry of India. However, in the 19th century, where this form of economic exploitation continued, new and more complex, more of raw material for their industry and a market where the goods produced at the British industry could be sold. India was made to cultivate those raw raw material like cotton or jute which were required by British industry. The impact of this was that India's wealth, which could have been utilized for Indian industrialization, economic development, was utilized instead of for Britain economic development. The Indian nationalist leader learned these vital facts of the propagate them at the same time, as the same times as apart from of the understanding about understanding about the steady economic exploitation of India, these national leaders, Dadabhai Naroji in a particular, propounded the drain theory. Naroji in the famous of the book Poetry and the Un-British Rule in India, written in 1901, published 1988, argued that the Indian economic resources were going system systematically siphoned off to England through trade, industrialization, and a high salary to British officials, which were being paid by Indian money. According to their calculation, this drain amounted to one half of government revenue and more than one third of India total saving. It was thus that Britain enrichment and India improvement were taking place simultaneously. The early nationalist leaders this argued that the British colonial rule in a variety of ways completely subordinate Indian economy to the economy of Great Britain. In their view, in direction of the Indian economy was being created suit our needs of British economy. They demanded an end of to flow of Indian wealth to England and the industrialization of India with the help of India capital only, so that it would benefit India and Indian people. In order to achieve this, nationalistic leaders demanded self-rule or self-government or Swaraj for their country. The relevance of economic nationalism are formulated by the nationalist leaders was twofold. Firstly, it demonized the national generally held by the educated people in the first half of the 19th century that the British colonial government was a benevolent government and would ultimately lead to India's economic development. Many people had believed that if the colonial rule would continue for a long time, India would in the end become prosperous like Great Britain. The Indian nationalism leaders were able to demonstrate that this was wrong thinking and that the British colonial rule was actually harmful to the interest of Indian people. Secondly, economic nationalism laid the foundation of our powerful nationalism aggregation against the British colonial rule, in which started in 20th century under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi and other leadership. This leadership took the idea of the economic nationalism to the Indian people and thus mobilized them then into the in national movement. Once masses of Indian people joined national movement, it became impossible for the British colonial rule to remain in India. Religion and nationalism. Apart from cultural nationalism and economic nationalism, there were other ways also in which the idea of Indian nationalism was being expressed. There came into being in the second half of the 19th century a thinking on Indian nationalism which was based on religion. It was leader like Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay Dayanand Saraswati, who founded Arya Samaj in 1875, Vivekananda and Arvindo Ghosh was made Hindu religion and its idea the motivating force behind Indian nationalism. They looked upon the British presence in India as an attempt by the Western civilization to dominate the Indian civilization. They were completely opposed to this domination. These leaders were convinced that although the British had success in conquering India, the Eastern civilization was superior to the Western one. Bankim Chandra argued that although the British had conquered India with the help of military and technology superiority, Indians should not start blindly following. He argued about the uniquences of the Indian society where the idea of Western civilization couldn't be applied. This leadership understood the Western civilization be made based on idea for India. Vivekanand believed that the Western ideas had to be remolded according into the Indian situation. He said in Europe, political ideas from the national unity in Asia, religion idea from the national unit. These leaders derived from the inspiration not from the Western text from other sources, but from the traditional Indian text like Vedas, Upanishads, and Gita. They criticized the British colonial rule mainly on the ground that it was trying to impose an inferior material system on India, which was land rich with spiritual resources. This understanding of nationalism based on religion had a political aspect also. Leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak wanted to take the idea of nationalism to the people. They knew that the religion was very important moral forces to the Indian society. Hence, they decided to use religion in the propagation of nationalism ideas in order to be able to speak to people in their languages, religion languages. Tilak introduced the Ganpati festival in Maharashtra in 1893 to create religion platform from where nationalism ideas could be praised and spared. This understanding of nationalism based on religion lead to be two different kinds of political mobilization in the 20th century. On the one hand, a leader like Mahatma Gandhi welcomed the use of religion, then nationalist mobilization, but they didn't conflict this approach only in Hindu religion. They used the symbol and language of Hinduism, Islam, and other religion too. Thus, they tried to bring members of different religion community into the national movements and also promote unity among them. The second approach was more exclusive in nature and was reflective in activities of organizations like Hindu Mahasabha and Muslim linguists, where the leaders of Hindu Mahasabha conferred their activities only to Hindu, those of Muslim linguists pleaded only to Muslim. They also didn't develop any understanding of Indian nationalism either by contributing to the unity of Indian people by engaging in uh, persistent opposition to British colonial rule. In the end, it is important for you understand some aspect of the relationship between various kinds of nationalism that you have read in the module. Although they may seem different from each other, they actually had many things in common. They were different from one another only to extent that they followed different paths so come to the same destination. They were also not opposed to each other in any fundamental sense. They were all opposed to the British colonial rule but their uh, opposition was based on different grounds. The advocates of cultural nationalism believed that the colonial rule had started encroaching into Indian culture, which should be resisted. The profounder of economic nationalism argued that the colonial rule Word similarly, leaders like Bankim and Vivekanand opposed the British rule on the ground that it was tampering with the spiritual resources of India. All the three were opposed to the colonial rule because of its impact on the Indian people. Their ideas helped in the building of the powerful anti-colonial Indian national movements in 20th century, which finally defended and overthrew the colonial rule from India. What you have learned in this lesson, the following points are worth mentioning. The idea of nationalism first took roots in Europe in 19th century and was uh, 19th century and was the result of rapid industrialization and the onset of modern industry economy. Indian nationalism was distinctly different from its European counterpart. In the India, the idea of nationalism emerged only around the second half of the 19th century. The idea of Indian nationalism was based on the twin idea of opposition of the British colonial rule and unity of the Indian people. The impact of British rule was felt first in the realm of culture. It was argued by the Indian leaders that the intrusion of colonial culture into Indian culture was harmful and should be resisted. The early nationalist leader pointed out of economically exploitation nature of the British colonial rule and thus the created what came to be known as economic nationalism. Simultaneously, many other leaders praised Indian nationalism, which was based on religion and which was motivated by religion considerations. This development of Indian nationalism with many branches resulted in 20th century in the building of powerful India national movements. This Indian national movements was based on the 19th century idea of Indian nationalism and was backed up to the massive mass participation, the active participation by the masses transformed Indian nationalism into a powerful, irresistible force which ultimately forced the British colonial rule to withdraw from India. You will read about in next lesson.